Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne. And in this podcast, I share my real world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, in the past weeks, or past episodes, I should say, we have been talking about some of the extreme income challenges that you face when you self-publish. So, why is it so hard to make money from self-publishing these days? And I think there are three big mega trends that are affecting what we make from self-publishing. Now, the first one is that there's just too many books. And this has been prompted by the what I would call democratization of publishing. Anyone and everyone can self-publish these days. There's almost zero barriers to doing so. And so a lot of people self-publish. In fact, in 2017, R.R. Bowker, which is the ISBN number registrar for the United States, they registered over 1 million titles from independent publishers, small independent publishers, not a traditional house. That's a lot of books in 1 year. On the Amazon side of the world, people can publish on Kindle ebook. They don't have to get an ISBN number. They can just go with Amazon's ASIN, which is the Amazon inventory number that they track all their sales with. And so it could be hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions more. And that's just in 1 year. And you have to remember that books just don't go away after 1 year. We now have the collective inventory in terms of books in the world of everything that's been published since the dawn of time. So if we're churning them out at the rate of 1 million a year, maybe 2 million a year, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of the number of books that are out there. So our competition from just other books is astronomical. And so we have to take that into consideration. And I always hear people say, well, you need to stand out in your market. Okay, I get that. I do understand that. And that's why we talk a lot about building your author platform and building your community of followers and fans. I get that. I honestly do. But you have to understand the realities of your marketplace. It's on the order of millions and millions and millions. I've seen estimates in the hundreds of millions of books that are available someplace, whether it's currently available in the marketplace or someplace else on the web. I mean, that's a lot of competition. So we have to understand that fact. The other competition fact that we have to realize is that our books are competing with every single other piece of content marketing out there. So what does that mean? It's competing with YouTube videos, streaming services, gaming channels, blogs, social media. There's people who won't read books, but they'll be on social media. And those are huge forces. So you're competing with everything, not just other books, which is a huge number, but this could even be bigger than that. Think of all the millions of videos that are on YouTube, and people will watch that stuff for hours on end. So if they're watching that, chances are they're not going to be reading your book. And then there's podcasts, and I'm just thinking, wow, there's just so much content out there and so many different formats of content. So we're not just competing with other books, we're competing with everything else that takes the attention of your potential readers. Now, the last mega trend that I see that's impacting self-publishing income is the subscription trend. Everything's on subscription now. Software. The biggest one in our area in terms of publishing is Kindle Unlimited. For a fee per month, readers can get unlimited Kindle ebooks. Now, for self-published authors, that's tough because you're not going to make as much money from the subscription programs. I know I don't. When you want to participate in the Kindle Unlimited program, you register your book as, in KDP Select. You enroll your title in KDP Select, and then you're eligible for Kindle Unlimited royalties. And that's just a bit of the Amazon Global Fund that they set aside as an incentive to pay royalties to authors to be in the program. Because when you're in KDP Select, you have to have your title exclusive to Amazon. So you can't sell the same title on other ebook or book platforms. You can't sell it on your website. So it has to be exclusive to Amazon. So once you're in that program, okay, fine, you'll get royalties. But here's how you get paid. When the reader opens your book, your ebook, Kindle ebook for the first time, whatever number of pages they read on that first reading is what you'll get paid for. Now let's think about that in terms of reality, even with yourself. You may have purchased an ebook at some point. You might even be in Kindle Unlimited yourself. And you read maybe 10 pages of a 300-page book, and then you close the book. That author is only going to get paid royalties on the 10 pages you read. So let's think about that. You've put your heart and soul into a book that's maybe hundreds of pages, and there's a certain metric that they use to measure pages when it comes to ebooks. I don't even know the algorithm for that, but they measure it in the same way for all ebooks. So it isn't just what you see on a screen or anything like that. There is a metric that they use so that it's fair for everybody. But still, even then, you're just going to get paid for those first few pages. That's disappointing. And can we even consider that a book sale? I don't even know. And I think that's part of the problem too with some of these other platforms, these other content platforms, is what do we consider a book sale these days? Do we just consider it a content sale? I don't know. These are huge megatrends that are impacting self-publishing income. And so I think we have to be very aware of that. And you have to think, well, how am I going to get around that? And as we talked about a little bit earlier, you really need to just keep building your community of fans for your work. That's about the best you can do right now, so that you have people who know you, they love you, and they love your work, and they're willing to buy. So we'll talk more about that, of course, in future episodes, things we can do to increase our sales and get more visibility, all those things. We'll keep talking about that in other podcasts, of course, going forward. But I did want to alert you to these big trends that are really going to be impacting your income going forward. So I hope you found this very informative and helpful as you start planning your self-publishing projects. And if you did, I would appreciate it if you would go over to iTunes and give the Heidi Thorne Show a nice rating and review. And while you're on iTunes, don't forget to subscribe to the Heidi Thorne Show so that you get updates on all of the upcoming episodes, podcast episodes. You don't miss a one. If you don't listen on iTunes, I'm also on Stitcher and Podbean. And if you like to listen to podcasts on your Alexa device, you can listen to the Heidi Thorne Show using the AnyPod skill on your Alexa. And also, I have the podcast videos are on YouTube. You just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne channel. Also, if you did like this show and you have other author friends, please share the show on social media. And if you'd like to connect with me, my website is simply HeidiThorne.com. And my self-published books, of course, are on Amazon. You just have to go to my Heidi Thorne author page. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.